Does the birth control pill cause infertility? Is this a conspiracy theory? Why is everyone suddenly talking about the connection between the pill and infertility? That's what we're going to discuss in the short video today. And I was reminded of this topic because recently on TikTok, there is this creator named Madeline Argy, I think her last name is. And it was just recently brought to my attention. I didn't know who she was before, but she's popular. She's got over 7 million followers. And I saw her profile, her videos, most of her videos get like tens of millions of views. And somebody showed me one of her recent posts where she got on and she said she's stopping the birth control pill after 8 years of using it. And I was pleasantly surprised to see all the comments. There are so many women in the comment section who were telling her that her life's going to get so much better. Their life improved so much since they gave up the pill. They lost 30 pounds. The sky is blue again. They feel like themselves. And that's because there are so many things that come from the birth control pill that are not talked about enough in terms of side effects. And now there's a lot of research coming out to support what women have been saying for years now. We now know that the birth control pill is heavily connected to mental health issues. You're much more likely to have suicidal ideations. You're much more likely to struggle with depression, anxiety, mood disorders, particularly if you start taking the pill in your teenage years. The research has shown this, that teenagers who start taking the pill before their hormonal cycle and their menstrual cycle has matured in their adult years, they are much more likely to suffer from lifelong depression. That's an insane statistic. That's insane data, but of course it's not talked about enough. So we know that it causes mental health issues in many cases. We also know now that the birth control totally wrecks your gut lining, which is one of the reasons why it causes so many mood disorders. Because remember, the gut-brain axis is a very strong connection. So if you have an unhealthy gut, you're very likely to have some mental health issues because of the intimate connection between your gut and your brain. And of course, we know, this is kind of a funny one, but not really, the birth control pill even makes women attracted to more feminine men. It changes who you're attracted to. I covered this in one of my previous episodes in detail, but long story short, it's because your sex hormones are suppressed when you're on the pill. All your hormones are suppressed. And so when you don't have the natural rises of estrogen and progesterone, that is of course going to affect your sex drive, which is why so many women have like no sex drive on the pill. And it's also going to affect what kind of men you could be attracted to. So there's a lot of things about the pill that are coming out, and many women are now no longer afraid to speak up about the side effects. And we could go on and on about many of the other side effects. You know, there's weight gain. And now one of the biggest side effects does it cause infertility? That's one of the biggest questions. And I want to preface all of this by saying, there is not really any research right now, as far as we can tell. I think there's a little bit of research being done, but nothing that is looked at with a lot of respect from the medical community right now. But I want to remind everyone listening that just because there is no research proving something in the medical community does not mean that it doesn't exist. And we have seen this with many examples over the years. A pretty good example is, you remember how it came out from that study at Berkeley that tampons were super toxic? They have all these heavy metals. Literally every single brand that they tested, organic and non-organic, they all tested positive for heavy metals. And this is the first time ever, in 2024, the first time that tampons have ever been tested for heavy metals. The one supplement that everybody should be taking, regardless of what stage you are in life, is organ meat. Organ meat capsules like these pack a huge punch for nutrition, electrolytes, minerals. They're so good for cardiovascular health, your lymphatic systems, your cognitive function. Ladies, it's even good for your hormones and your fertility. This bison trifecta here has all three. It's got the liver, the heart, and the kidney, and it comes from grass-fed and grass-finished bison, which is known as one of the most nutrient-dense animals on the planet. And you can use my code GINA10 for 10% off any and all orders. This is a wonderful product. I take this every single day. I've taken it through my pregnancy, taken it through postpartum phases, and it's so good to support a healthy, active lifestyle. It's known as nature's vitamin. So use my code GINA10 for 10% off. You can go to the link in my show notes to get yours today. So just 1 year ago, a doctor could have told you, oh, tampons, they don't have any toxins in them. There's no research proving that tampons are at all toxic. And he would have been right. That doctor would have been right, because in 2023 and all of the years before, there was no research showing that tampons are toxic. Does that mean that they're not? No, that's the same thing for any research that's been done. And so there is not a lot of research right now to definitively connect the birth control pill and infertility. And one of the main reasons why this is true is because Big Pharma has a big role in what kind of studies are published. Of course, they're going to have some kind of say in what kind of studies are done, what kind of research is done, especially on something as popular as a birth control pill, which makes the pharmaceutical industries probably billions of dollars every year. So why aren't there any studies? And we have to really ask that question and remind ourselves that just because there aren't any studies doesn't mean that there is definitively no connection between the two. You can, I guarantee you, I haven't done it, but if you Google online birth control and infertility, everybody's going to tell you online that it doesn't exist. It's not real. You can go to an OBGYN today and they're also going to give you the same tune. They're going to give you an excuse like, oh, well, honey, you think you're infertile because when you were on the pill, you got on the pill when you were 21, but then you got off the pill when you were 31. And that's just when you're less fertile anyway. That's when you just naturally have a less likelihood to get pregnant anyway. When I was an editor for a lot of women's digital magazines, I was always doing interviews with OBGYNs and experts, and I would always ask the question, especially to OBs. I said, does the birth control pill cause infertility? And they would all give me the same textbook answer. There's no research behind it. Women just think it causes infertility because when they come off the pill, they're just naturally less fertile anyway because of age. It's always the same answer. So what I want to discuss today really quickly is how the birth control pill can cause infertility. I'm going to give you a sort of crash course on how the pill works, because it's going to help you understand that of course it could possibly cause infertility. I'm not saying that it's going to. I think we can definitively say probably in most cases, it's not going to make you infertile, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've interviewed a lot of women. I've surveyed a lot of women over the last few years with a lot of the pieces I've written for different online magazines. I did a really big survey for Evie magazine. I surveyed over 1,200 women, and I've interviewed a lot of different practitioners, both on the holistic side and the conventional medical side. And it's a growing concern because there are more and more women who are coming forward who are truly convinced. They know that they are struggling with infertility because they were taking the pill for a really long time. For example, a girl who started taking the pill when she was 18. Now she's 33. She came off the pill and she just cannot ovulate. So how the pill works, for those of you who don't know, is that it shuts down the connection between your brain and your ovaries, which means you don't ovulate. You never ovulate when you're on the pill. You're not supposed to. Now, there can be a breakthrough ovulation. You know, there's that, I think, less than 1% chance, maybe 1% of women who do get pregnant on the pill because there is a breakthrough ovulation. But what the pill is supposed to do, and what it does most of the time, is it blocks ovulation. You do not have a menstrual cycle when you're on the pill. You don't have the same hormonal fluctuations as you normally would. For example, estrogen is meant to rise every month right before you ovulate. And then right after you ovulate every month, your progesterone is meant to rise. Your body does not have the natural rises and falls of these natural hormones when you're on the pill. Because what the pill does is it totally shuts down your natural hormonal production, and it replaces the entire hormonal cycle with synthetic hormones. Progestin is the synthetic form of progesterone that does not function the same way in the body as progesterone does. I'm trying to get this doctor. I see this hormone doctor. He's amazing. He was an OBGYN for decades. I'm trying to get him on my show because he does so much work, clinical work with patients. And he has so much knowledge explaining about how progestin is different from progesterone. But unfortunately, a lot of OBs don't even know that. Anyway, I digress. We can do that in another episode. I'm trying to make this a shorter episode because I know people have wanted some shorter videos. So when you suppress ovulation for 10 to 15 years, for example, like we're talking about girls who are on the pill like 15, and then they get married, they come off the pill because they want to get pregnant, and then they just can't. They're struggling to ovulate. That's not in the realms of fantasy. That's not an impossible thing. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to consider, because if your body has not ovulated or had a natural period for 10 to 15 years, don't you think your body's going to have a tough time readjusting and ovulating and menstruating again? I know some of you are listening, you're like, I have my period every month when I take the pill. Okay. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not an actual period. That is a withdrawal bleed from the pill. Election years are always crazy, and this one has already been particularly insane. We've seen an attempted assassination, a mass global outage from CrowdStrike due to a software update. Okay. And look what happened in Maui with the wildfires last year, which left hundreds of people stranded with no government assistance. It's more important than ever to prepare your family in case of an emergency that might leave you with a shortage of food, shortage of medical supplies, or even a power outage for an extended period of time. This medical emergency kit comes with 8 proven medications such as Z-Pak, amoxicillin, ivermectin, and more, all of which can be life-saving. Check out this amazing review from a woman in Texas whose area lost all power and phone connection from Hurricane Beryl. 2 days into the catastrophe, she had a urinary system infection with nausea and a fever, and this medical emergency kit saved her life. All you need is one kit to store in a safe place so that you always have a medical lifeboat in a time of need. And now you can use my code GINA10 for 10% off all of your purchases, not even just your first, but all of your purchases from the Wellness Company. Link in the show notes to get yours. You don't have a real period when you're on the pill, because the real period is about shedding that endometrium lining, and it's coupled with rises of different hormones. That doesn't happen. It's a withdrawal bleed from the pill. So you don't actually menstruate when you're on the pill. So now, fast forward to years later, you come off the pill and it's hard for your body to suddenly snap back into ovulating and menstruating. A lot of women, they get back into it within a few months and everything's fine. Some women, it takes longer. I know a girl, she was on the pill for 12 years. It took her 18 months after she got off the pill to have a period again, which means for 18 months, she was not ovulating. Because remember, a period, menstruation, only follows ovulation. You're not going to have a true period unless you ovulate. That's how it works. So she wasn't ovulating for 18 months. I know a lot of women, I hear from a lot of women now who are having similar experiences, even if they're on the pill for like 5 years. They come off of it and they realize that it's really hard to ovulate, which means it's really hard to get pregnant. Well, I mean, if you're not ovulating, it's impossible to get pregnant. You can only get pregnant if and when you're ovulating, of course. So now we're hearing many more of these women come forward and talk about their experiences. And a lot of times doctors will gaslight them. They'll tell them they're crazy. It's all in your head. There's no research to support that. Yeah, just because there's no research doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Again, because Big Pharma will block any research that puts their medication in a devastating light. I mean, even back to the very beginning of the pill, don't forget that the pill was used as a form of eugenics in Puerto Rico on poor, uneducated women. And it was used by Margaret Sanger because she wanted to use the pill as a form of eugenics to eradicate poor, uneducated people that she deemed unworthy. Again, I digress. I have an entire episode on that as well if you want to go back and watch about the history of the pill, because it's really disgusting history of how it was started and the research that it was started with. But the research, I believe, has been blocked. I don't think they really want you to know the true effects of the pill and how it may really cause infertility. Now, this video is not meant to fearmonger you if you're currently taking the pill. I'm not telling you you're not going to be able to get pregnant. Chances are you probably will. It happens, I assume, I think it happens to a minority of women, but it still happens, and it's something to consider. And even if you don't want to get pregnant when you come off the pill, ovulation is a really, really important part of your health. Ovulation releases a lot of different hormones that are good for your mood, for your sleep. Progesterone, for example, is known as the key mood and sleep stabilizer, and it rises after you ovulate every month. So if you're not ovulating regularly, you're not getting that rise of progesterone. It affects everything from your brain function to your mood, to your sleep, to your sex drive, everything. And so even if you don't want to get pregnant and have kids, it's important to honor your menstrual cycle and understand that it has its important role through many different parts of your life and many different parts of your health. So there, again, no research from these peer-reviewed journals saying definitively that the birth control pill causes infertility. So it's just something to think about, something to consider, ladies, something to really chew on and ask yourself, is this something that I want to take? Because Trust me, the birth control pill does not heal your menstrual cycle. It just masks it and overrides it with synthetic hormones. So if you want to heal your menstrual cycle, there are other ways to do that. And there are even other ways to prevent pregnancy naturally. I have a hormone challenge coming up in August. It's only $1 a day, so $30 to participate. We're going to be doing webinars all month. We're doing webinars on cycle tracking, on ovulation tracking. We're having an expert come in to talk about how to naturally prevent pregnancy if you don't want to use synthetic hormones. So go to the link in the show notes and you can sign up. Only $1 a day. You're going to get workouts. You're going to get recipes. You're going to get a meal plan. We're all doing healthy hormone stuff, all the good stuff. All right. That's it. Thanks, guys. See you next time.